Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. As the 2027 general elections approach, concerns are mounting about declining voter turnout, particularly in light of the historically low participation recorded in recent elections. These concerns are driven by a range of factors, including voter apathy, trust deficit, socioeconomic pressures, and evolving political attitudes. In response, Yaga Africa is conducting a series of national voter intention surveys aimed at testing prevailing assumptions about voter interest and participation, while identifying the key drivers and barriers to citizen engagement ahead of the 2027 elections. These periodic surveys are designed to generate timely, credible, and actionable evidence to inform electoral stakeholders and strengthen citizens' participation. National Voter Intention Survey shows that 77% of Nigerians intend to vote in 2027, but 42% fear violence. Northwest 67% and Northeast 45% show the strongest intention to vote, while South-South and Southeast record low enthusiasm. Joining us on this show to discuss who will vote in 2027, a report by Yaga Africa, is Victoria Eta-Messi, Director of Voter Education for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Good morning, Mrs. Eta-Messi, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo, and good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, madam, basically, your reaction to that report by Yaga Africa, it looks like ahead of 2027, more people are determined to vote in the Northwest and the Northeast. Fewer persons are interested in voting in the southern part of the country. Do you consider that survey, prophetic enough or, reliable as part of calculations by the electoral body? And you are Director of Voter Education. You have the responsibility to put the mechanisms in place to ensure that it's not only in the North that people come out to vote, but everywhere in the country. What is INEC doing, which is part of its functions, in the areas of voter mobilization, voter conscientization, and voter education?
Thank you once again, Dr. Abati. So the discussion yesterday was a fruitful one, eye-opening as well. We were there, and it's a living document, and so we're still studying it, but it is a good document for us to run with. Like you mentioned earlier, the stratifications are there, so we have seen where, from their survey, where there is need to put more effort with regards to the North, for instance. Okay, so the fact that over 70% is interested in voting, that is good news for us. But then the security concern again. Recall we have electoral stakeholders, so we work closely with the security agencies with regards to having safe and secure elections. So the fact that 42% are wary and have concerns of security is also worrisome, but then it gives light to the work that we would need to do. The fact that more people in the North are interested in voting, but fewer people in the South have, would I call it distrust or disinterest in voting, again, would guide our voter education strategies and messaging. So in all, it's actually a good document that will guide the actions that we take going forward towards 2027.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Eta-Messi. Now, in this, I must say, done report by Yaga Africa, they highlight the fact that one of the reasons why people wouldn't come out to vote, despite the interest in wanting to vote, is a distrust in INEC itself. the process itself, that their votes will not count. And in fact, in this report, they make some recommendations to INEC as to how they can shore up or reestablish trust with the voters. Are you going to take this on board, or are there already plans by INEC to ensure that your work is not in vain in educating voters or getting more people to come out there, that people would actually trust INEC in itself to make the process fair and equitable for all?
Interestingly, though 45% had concerns with regards to INEC activities, over 60% believe that there is electoral efficacy, that their votes will count. So that is good for us as well. So it means that they know that their votes will count, that their votes would amount or would influence election outcome. So for us, again, like I said, yes, there is a lot of job to be done. We're still, there are lessons learned from the 2023 general elections. We're not done with fine-tuning and making sure that 2027 would be much, much better than 2023. So we have a lot of mobilization and sensitization to do. We're doing that. We will continue doing that. And we're working with our other stakeholders with regards to mobilizing citizens. Recall there are many other organizations that have this responsibility. Civil society also acknowledges the fact that they have a role with regards to mobilizing and sensitizing citizens to vote. If you look at that report again, a major area that we need to concentrate work on would be with the youth. We have seen that there are more adults that believe in the process and believe that their votes would count and have interest or have shown indicated interest in participating. But a lot of the youth or a lot of the youth demographic will have a lot of some work to do there because quite a number of them are disinterested. We have more or less social media activists, but they do not come to the playing field to actually participate. So we'll continue to sensitize them using as... Yes, please.
Okay, that's really good to hear, but I want you to be a bit more specific. You say that there were lessons learned from the last election, 2023, and that based on those lessons, you're designing responses to that. Can you be a bit more specific? Because this is part of the way to encourage voters that INEC is now ready for 2027 to build up or to correct some of the errors of 2023. What were the lessons learned, and how have you begun to address those issues?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier the issue of strategies. And so we have different layers of voting citizens. You have the senior citizens, you have the youth demographic. And so the messaging would be different. We're working on different messages. We're using different platforms. So the platform you would use, and again, looking at the economic status of the registered voters or the voters, we would deploy whatever media platform that suits that category of demographic. So we're channeling our messages based on the demographics that we want to target. For now, we have need, because the youth demographic constitutes the largest voting bloc. And so there is need for us to put in much more work with that target audience. And so our messages are different. Our platforms that we'll use to reach out to them also would vary and be different from the targets or the channels that would be used for the senior citizens, for instance.
Okay.
And also we are stretching out our hands and urging other stakeholders to join us because we cannot do this alone. Yesterday, civil society acknowledged the fact that they also have a lot to do with regards to bringing the Gen Zs on board and to win their trust again. We know that quite a number of them participated in the 2023 general elections. Maybe that is why they are feeling the way they are. And so we'd work towards bringing them back on board.
Okay. Madam, great to have you. But like I'll say, problem deal, and I will point out the problems to you. Number one, you said we've learned for 2023 elections. I don't think we have learned, though. I don't think we have learned. Till today, we don't know what caused the technical glitch. As long as we don't know that, I will never stop talking about it. We have not learned. Secondly, the thing about the technical glitch is this. As of today, they've not passed the new electoral law that will make most of those gray areas that we talked about after 2023 election justiciable. The National Assembly is dilly-dallied. In fact, FIJ reporters did a report of how they've stepped down that bill a couple of times. I think Atiku Abubakar even had to speak about it. Problem deal, with the president signing before election, if you don't sign that bill before election, you don't expect anything to be different. The third problem, from your data here, I see that 41% of the voters sampled earn between 0 naira to 70,000 naira. Problem deal. Because Somebody was speaking on Arise the other day. I was saying that, oh, President Tinubu has won the election. They will just give voters 20,000 naira. And if they don't even collect, technical glitch will happen. See, if you have 41% of those sampled earning between 0 to 70,000 naira, and you give those persons 20,000 naira, they make more than 30 or 40% of, or close to 30%, 20 to 30% of what they earn in a month, and they earn it in one just day, and they share 20,000 naira for them. These people will not vote their conscience. They will vote for the person that gave them money. So, problem deal. How can we do sensitization? Because it's a big problem with that too, madam.
Yeah, I agree. It hasn't been easy, but we're not relenting. But then, like I always say during our sensitization opportunities and platforms, what is the alternative? So you'll accept 20,000 now, and that takes you for 4 years. So we speak to their conscience to let them see that this country belongs to us, and that the success that will be recorded would be determined by the decisions and choices that they take. So if they think that 20,000 will fix their problem, that's unfortunate. But our messages and messaging is targeted towards ensuring that we continue singing this song until they get it. Yeah, it's not our doing. The Commission does not determine the economic status of citizens. So it's going around, everybody is feeling the economic situation and hardship. And the more reason why citizens and Nigerians should be angry and should take their future into their hands to decide who should best lead them in the next 4 years. If you go back to that report, there is also the issue of candidates the quality of candidates that are thrown up. The quality of candidates that political parties throw up. And again, the fact that we're tilting more towards candidates, gravitating towards candidates rather than parties. But then the irony or the paradox in that, if you look at what is happening or what has been happening of recent is, so why are candidates ordinarily that you think have what it takes, have succeeded in governance, in delivering dividends of democracy in their spheres or spaces, so why do they need a political party umbrella to protect them? So you should actually put powers in the hands of the candidate if you know that you have what it takes, you have the capacity and you have the wherewithal, then you can stand on your own irrespective of the political party. So we're hoping that citizens would closely interrogate the candidates that are thrown up, and not just what we're seeing where the political party is the one that, so no matter who you are, whether you have anything to offer or not, once you belong to party A, it's a done deal, you can go to sleep. We're hoping that as we continue to conscientize them and sensitize them, they will hold the feet of the candidates to fire and interrogate them to know what it is they actually have to offer. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, it is not easy, yes. There's a lot of poverty in the land.
Madam,
but the choice...
Madam, the electoral bill also talks about that.
The electoral bill, the commission, they haven't. We still have a window of 1 month, hoping that once the National Assembly resumes sitting, they will do the needful and send it to the president. We're also waiting. But going by the 2022 Electoral Act, we have a window of 1 month. If they are sincere and willing to pass it, they can do all of that in 1 month, and then we'll have an amended Electoral Act to work with.
Okay, madam.
Otherwise, we still have our 2022 Electoral Act, which we would be forced to work with. It's not a very, very bad document, but we'll just have to work with it.
Okay, madam. I imagine that INEC did not have to wait for Yaga Africa to release a report and make projections about 2027 general elections. Part of the work of INEC includes research, studying, looking for areas of improvement. And that was why I asked you the question about voter sensitization, education, mobilization. But you just spoke in general terms. I wanted you to tell me concrete things that INEC has been doing since the conclusion of the last election in terms of, oh, this is what we are doing, this is what you are doing. But you came here also to quote a report that was made public yesterday. What is the internal process for making sure, because voter education, voter mobilization is not a one-day, one-week event. It's a continuous exercise. So I would like to speak up and stand up for yourself in terms of what you are bringing to the table. And then we're told that 76% of Nigerians are not even aware of electoral reform. You are saying we still have a one-month window. Well, that doesn't sound quite impressive, because INEC also invested in this electoral reform process. The former INEC chairman was talking about the Electoral Offenders Commission, which he says will be very useful to make INEC more efficient. Is INEC, under this new dispensation, engaging with the National Assembly that, Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar seems to say, is playing possum, sleeping on duty and, foot dragging on this all-important issue of electoral reform? Contrary to what you said, the Electoral Act 2022 is not as good as you present it to be.
So in your intro, you asked my opinion on the report, and that was what I was doing. I didn't come here to market the Yaga report. You asked my opinion on the report and the provisions
and I
of
asked
the
you what
observations that were made
I asked you
in
what
that
you
report.
are, what you are doing. I asked
Yes.
you specifically. You ignored the question. Now tell us.
I did not ignore the question. Maybe I didn't get that. You asked me a series of questions, and I was trying to address them, and at some point you interrupted me. Or I think Ayo now presented her question. So now going back to what we're doing. You said you complained, you talked about the National Assembly. We're not the National Assembly, but we work closely with the National Assembly. For the amendments, we work together with them. All the corrections, all the new inputs, we did them side by side alongside with the National Assembly. And so what is left now is for them to pass it and send it to the president for his assent. That we cannot control. There was another thing you mentioned. What is it we are doing? We have a research and we have a research department. They're also conducting their research. For us in Voter Education and Publicity Department, we have designed and developed. Let me give you an example. The FCT election is coming up next month. And we have noticed from our research that out of the 6 area councils, AMAC has the least number of citizens that show interest in voting. And so we have targeted our voter education strategies and interventions towards AMAC, because we have seen that most of the candidates focus on the other area councils, the rural area councils, and do not leave AMAC. And AMAC has the highest number of voters. And so we have designed or developed a strategy that would target citizens or residents of AMAC to try and sensitize them to come out for this election. And then one other thing that was thrown up in the course of the strategy design was the fact that they don't even know who the candidates are. And so you now have this thin line. Are we supposed to now campaign for the candidates or for the political parties? So we are developing strategies based on the demographics. What we'll do, we have our social media handles, and we use that for the Gen Zs. We have our Twitter meetings periodically. Whenever we have a program or a new activity coming up, we have our Twitter discussions with the youth demographic on our social media handle. Our social media handles are very active. We're still indulging, or we're still engaging the traditional means. The face-to-face, the stakeholder meetings, meetings with faith-based organizations, meeting with traditional rulers, meeting with people in the grassroots. So whatever demographic or cluster there is will determine the strategy that we adopt. We're not resting on our oars. So when you say that I'm coming here to defend myself, I don't think that is very kind of you, because we have not been sleeping. We are engaging permanently, right from immediately after the 2023 general elections. We've been having standalone election. So there has been a lot of activity. And so as the activities come up, we continue with our voter education interventions.
So I understand you, ma'am, but what some of the statistics reveal is that despite these activities, there still remains quite a large number of the population who are unaware of certain things. For instance, you would agree that 76% of Nigerians not knowing or being unaware of recent electoral reforms is quite a high number. And that's why we were asking that, okay, what are ways that you have employed to address this? I hear strategy, but what are some of the, in the last response, you were able to break down a few of those things that you said. But you said that you were looking to engage community leaders, faith leaders. To what extent have you done that? And then, based on your responses, what was the percentage from your research that didn't know, and what is the percentage now in terms of the impact of your intervention?
Yeah. One major thing that the Commission does is quarterly consultative meetings with all its stakeholders. We meet with the media, we meet with political parties, we meet with civil society organizations, and again, you have the Interconsultative Committee on Election Security. That is one at the head office. At the state level, periodically, the resident electoral commissioners meet with all their clusters of stakeholders as well. We have a lot of programs on traditional media. We also have programs on social media. And so whatever platform best suits the cluster, that is what we engage in at that point in time. But now we're very, very active on our social media, understanding the fact that most of the Gen Zs do not show interest in the electoral reform and the electoral activities for that matter.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is that organizations like EIE, for instance, have the RSVP initiative to try to get the Gen Zs that you've identified. Is INEC, is your office working with them or working with other organizations like this? How are you using culture, social culture, influencers perhaps, people that they listen to? That's what I'm saying, because there's a lot of focus on the traditional means, but how do we capture the young population who make up the most in terms of the number of people who are who are voting and the population of Nigeria? These are the questions. We don't see INEC very active. We see some civil society organizations. I talked about EIE. What are you doing to engage, celebrities, engage influencers, have, really dynamic, innovative events to really get to those young people?
I think it was on Arise yesterday evening. We had an appearance of one of our celebrities. We have engaged, for this continuous voter registration, for instance, we engage celebrities and influencers that we know that the youth would want to listen to. So they're the ones pushing our message, where they're also using their own social media handles to push the message that we have decided or designed for them.
Okay.
So if you have been following, just a minute, please. If you've been following what has been happening, and we are focusing on major channels. Arise is also one of the channels, one of the stations that we use. Arise is there, AIT is there, Channels is there. Those are the stations. And then at the regional level, the states are also using the state radio and TV stations to push out our messages.
Okay.
We're using the newspapers as well. And like I said, we have grassroots engagement.
Okay. The question I'd like to ask is, and because I want this to work, do you have a very good budget for it? Because I doubt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I doubt if you have a sustainable budget for this. And that's why we're looking for ways to help. So I'm not talking to you as an INEC, I'm talking to you as a fellow Nigerian. The problem I see is that there's no budget for it. Because even I've been checking through your Twitter page. Yes, you have 2.8 million followers, but how can you have 2.8 million followers and one of your tweets just gets 4,000 impressions, 1,000 impressions, 3,000 impressions, 3,800 impressions? So even with the tweets, what's the mileage of your tweet? I'm not seeing a lot of that traction. So probably you guys need to rejig your own social media architecture. If possible, do more sponsored tweets and posts and all of that. Based on a couple of reports, media is very strategic. Radio has about 39%, I'm not hearing running ads of INEC on radio station. I'm saying sequential, constant running ads, running campaigns. It's not that paramount. There's a difference in media planning between one-offs and proper campaigns that brings light to that issue. Television takes about 31%. I mean, yes, a TV appearance is there, but I'm saying constant running INEC advertisements as regards the process. We're not seeing a lot of that. So I would like to call on your behalf to the government of Nigeria now. If we want this to work, please let's give INEC more money to spend on media. I beg. Because it's really important, because we want to see the traction of the work done. But I don't think there's a viable budget on ground. And those are some of the ideas I really want to push out there. I don't know if you want to respond to this. We are Nigerians here. We're not talking like this INEC and no.
Yeah.
We are Nigerians.
Yeah, there can never be too much of resources. We have resources, but we could have more, and which is why we work with strategic stakeholders who also have the responsibility of sensitizing voters. We have the we have the Committee on Voter Education, the NICVEP, the Committee on Voter Education and Publicity, which has most of the agencies under the Ministry of Information. And so with that category, with that cluster of agencies coming together, we want to leverage. It has been in it hasn't been as effective and as functional as it should be in the past few years. And we're just trying to reactivate the NICVEP so that all those sister agencies within the Ministry of Information will bring something to the table with regards to providing sufficient publicity and sensitization to citizens and to Nigerians. So yes, we have a budget, but we would not mind having more. But the most important issue here is collaboration, because it's not just our responsibility. Yes, INEC is there. It is the election management body, but the political parties are not doing up to half of what they're expected to do. So the touch or the beam light is focused on the commission alone. Even yesterday during the presentation, the civil societies acknowledged the fact that they also have a huge role to play with regards to sensitizing Nigerians.
Certainly, we all have a role to play, either in civil society or in government or the security agencies, to have free, fair, credible elections that the people of Nigeria can trust and that will not be resolved majorly in the courts. This is the basic expectation of the average Nigerian. But we want to thank you very much, Mrs. Eta-Messi, for joining us on The Morning Show.